Spring football is almost upon us. It's right around the corner. And for the West Virginia Mountaineers, it starts next week. And in this video, I'm going to give you my top 5 questions as the Mountaineers enter spring camp. So stick around, and I'll give you those top 5 questions right after this word from our sponsor. Ladies and gentlemen, this episode is brought to you by Dutch Miller Automotive, where friends and family pricing means you get the best deal right up front on any new or pre-loved vehicle in stock every time. With brands like Chevrolet, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Kia, Hyundai, Ford, GMC, Buick, and Subaru, the Dutch Miller Automotive family is always growing and ready to put you in the car or truck you've been searching for. Check out our inventory across West Virginia at DutchMillerAuto.com or come in today to the home of friends and family pricing, only at a Dutch Miller Automotive store near you. What is up? Come on in, make yourself comfortable. Build yourself up to the bar, and let me pour you out this shot of top-shelf college football content on tap at Couz's Corner today. I'm going to give you my top 5 questions going into spring camp for the West Virginia Mountaineer football team. They're coming off a 9-4 season where they had a bowl victory over North Carolina in the Duke's Mayo Bowl, the first winning season for Neil Brown outside of the pandemic year. A lot of optimism within the program, a lot of optimism surrounding the fan base. Neil Brown seems to have gotten off the hot seat, got himself an extension. All things seem good in Morgantown from a football standpoint. But as we go into spring camp, I got to thinking, there are some things that I do question. Not sure what some certain positions are going to look like. Certain sides of the ball might look like. So what are the top 5 questions for Coach Brown, his staff, and his team entering spring ball? But before we do that, I want to give a really quick VIP shout out to my VIP channel members of the day. They are Sasquatch 304, might be the best name on YouTube, PW Riggs, Roy Harrison, and Browns and Beers. Those are 4 of my VIP channel members. If you want to become a VIP channel member, be sure to hit the join button below or check out the link in my description box. I am going to start making some members-only content that's only for members, at least for a couple of weeks. So if you want to make sure you get access to that content, you need to become a member. Now let's get on with the show. The first question I have for this Mountaineer team going into spring ball, the offensive line. Without Zach Frazier and Doug Nestor, those two were kind of the cornerstones of that offensive line, along with Wyatt Milam, obviously, who will be back. But we all know Zach Frazier could end up being a first or at least second-round draft pick in the NFL draft here in a few weeks. He's a very, very talented, very highly respected center, one of the best in the country last year, a 4-year starter for this program. Can the offensive line continue to play well like they did? Now, they do have Brandon Yates expecting to be a starter at center to replace Frazier. Also, cannot underestimate the absence of Doug Nestor. Now, he will likely be replaced by Nick Malone, who got a lot of snaps last year, or Xavier Bosley, the transfer from Jacksonville State, who is on campus for spring ball. Now, they do have Wyatt Milam returning, who is arguably going to be one of the top left tackles in the Big 12, if not in all of college football. Also have Tomas Rimac, a very, very underrated player coming back who played the left guard spot last year. They have Jaquay Hubbard returning, who has a lot of snaps under his belt. Now, while I do expect the O-line to take a minor step back, I still think they will be solid enough for the offense to be explosive. Losing Zach Frazier is a big deal in my opinion. There's not going to be anybody on this roster that can step up and be that good, at least from day one. So that could be a loss. But the staff can scheme around that, and they can use their strengths up there, which is Wyatt Milam and others, to their advantage. I think this year the left side of that line with Milam and Rimac will be the strong suit, just like it was a year ago. And they can take advantage of that and run a lot of their plays off the left side. And like I said, I do think the offense can still be explosive, especially if the number 2 question is answered, and that is, can the wide receivers take a step? A lot of returning production from last year's team, 80% to be exact. 80% of production. Really, the only receiving production they're losing is Devin Carter, who caught 27 balls for over 500 yards a year ago. That's a loss, but let's be honest. Devin Carter, for whatever reason, seemed to regress as the year went on last year. By the end of the season, he had lost his starting spot to Traylon Ray, who was a freshman. Traylon Ray returns. You have Rodney Gallagher coming in for his sophomore campaign. You have Hudson Clement, who will be back, who had a strong season last year, led the team in yards per reception. Don't forget tight end Cole Taylor, who's a big part of the passing game. All of those guys will be back. And they went out and got Jaden Bray out of the transfer portal from Oklahoma State. Big addition. He's on camp for spring ball. So he'll have a chance to get comfortable in the offense with Garrett Greene, Nico Marchiol, and those quarterbacks, which, by the way, happens to be my number 3 question. Can the quarterback position improve even more from last year? Now, we all know Garrett Greene had a strong 2023 campaign, but we could still see a jump. He still has a lot of room to improve. And also, so does Nico Marchiol, the backup. Let's be honest. We all know that Garrett has a tendency to get hurt. He's been injured a lot throughout his career, missed a couple games last year with an injury. Nico came in and did win. He played solid. He played good, but they had to rely very heavily on the running game. We all know teams are likely going to stack the box on this Mountaineer team with Jaheim White, C.J. Donaldson back there. So Nico's going to have to be able to throw the football if he comes in. Can he make a big step, a big jump in year 3 in the program? So if Greene does go out for an injury, even if it's only for a few snaps or a few plays or a game, we don't want the offense to miss a beat. And I think Nico has that ability. I know he has the potential. Can he reach it? Can he get there? Because we all know once Garrett graduates after this year, it will be Nico's team. So I expect not only Nico to make a jump, but also Garrett, because we do know Garrett struggled on some of the short and intermediate passes. Can he improve on that? Can he get his completion percentage up closer to that 60% or even over that 60% mark? If Garrett Greene can do that, oh my gosh, the sky's the limit for that young man. With his ability to run the football and his ability to throw the deep ball, if he can get his short and intermediate passing game going and get his completion percentage up to over 60%, this offense, there's no limits to it, in my opinion, especially if what I mentioned earlier happens and the wide receivers take a massive step forward and the offensive line holds up as well. Now, let's move over to the defensive side of the ball for numbers 4 and 5 on my list. Number 4, the first defensive question is, what do they do at linebacker? There's been talk to moving to a true 3-4 scheme. We all know they've been playing more of like kind of a, I don't know, I guess a 4-2-5 look, but they plan to go to a true 3-4 scheme with the intention of getting more pressure on the quarterback and using 2 outside linebackers, or at least an outside linebacker and a bandit, which to me, a bandit is similar to an outside linebacker anyways. And they showed their intentions to do that by going out and hiring an outside linebackers coach in the offseason, bringing in Victor Cabral from Appalachian State, who is known for his ability to coach pass rushers. We have Tyron Bradley returning from last year, who was really taking big strides, I thought, as the season went on. He has the potential to be a great player for this team. They went out and got Ty French from the transfer portal, who has the potential to be a stud and maybe the best pass rusher West Virginia has had in quite some time. We've even heard Drew Fabianich, the GM who scouts these transfer portal players, talking about the ceiling that Ty French has, how great of a pass rusher he is. Thinks he's really, really good. And don't forget true freshman Obina Onwuka, who was already on campus, who was a 4-star recruit according to some services. He's also going to play the outside linebacker spot, and I think has a chance to compete for a starting spot on this team, or at least compete for a spot in the 2 deep. Then you move to the inside linebacker position. What's going to happen there? You have 3 talented linebackers with very high ceilings and a lot of talent vying for snaps. You have Trey Lathan, who started last year before missing a big part of the year with an injury. And he was the leading pass rusher on the Mountaineer defense at the time of his injury. Replacing him came in Ben Cutter, who was a true freshman, who started in place of Lathan and got some very valuable playing time and really came on late in the year. Thought we saw a lot of improvement by Cutter, and it even showed in his PFF grades there towards the end of the season. His PFF grades took a jump. Then you have Josiah Trotter, who came in who's the son of former Philadelphia Eagles linebacker Jeremiah Trotter, who was a very highly talented recruit, wanted by a lot of major programs. Coach Brown expected him to compete for a starting spot. He came in, he was already at Power 5 level size at like 250. Was ready to play linebacker physically when he got there. Unfortunately, he went down with an injury. I think it was a torn ACL in spring ball last year, which caused him to miss the season. He'll be back. He'll be competing for a spot. We can't forget about Reed Carrico, the transfer portal ad from Ohio State. Now, he didn't play a whole lot at Ohio State, did not see the field much other than on special teams. But in interviews, Drew Fabianich also talked about Carrico and thinks he can contribute to this defense, thinks he can compete for playing time on this defense, thinks he has the ability to do that. So, and he's already going to be on campus for spring ball. So it'll be interesting to see where does he fit in. It'll be interesting to hear Coach Brown's press conference and also the press conference of the assistant coaches talking about some of these different guys and how they perform in spring camp. And then, of course, the spring game, which I think is around April 22nd. And then finally, the fifth question and the second one for the defensive side of the ball, the secondary. How will the secondary look in 24? Now, the secondary has struggled a lot the past few years at West Virginia. They really struggled in 2022, did a little bit better in 2023, but still had their issues, especially at the safety spot. And the guys they did have that played well in the secondary, for the most part, have moved on. They basically played the whole season with two corners in Beanie Bishop and Malachi Ruffin. Both are out of eligibility. Beanie Bishop, we all know, was the 13th consensus All-American in West Virginia history. Was a grad transfer from Minnesota. Then you have Malachi Ruffin, who was a sixth-year player at West Virginia who finally earned himself a starting spot and played solid at the spot, I thought. But he's out of eligibility as well. Both of those will have to be replaced. You have Kent State transfer Montre Miller, who applied for a medical redshirt and by all indications is going to get that. I haven't heard any different. I expect he will compete for a starting spot. If you put on his tape, he looks really, really good at Kent State. Has the ability to go up and get the football and make plays on the ball. Then you have Jacoby Spells returning, who has a very high ceiling. He was also a highly touted recruit out of high school. This will be his junior season at West Virginia. Can he make a big jump? So he'll be back. Then they went out in the transfer portal and got TJ Crandall out of Colorado State and Aiden Garnes from Duquesne. Both of them will be on campus for spring ball. Both of them are taller corners than what West Virginia's had the past few years. Both have good length, which should help them recover when they do get beat. We've heard coaches talk a lot. When a guy does get beat, if they've got the length and the speed to make up for it, they can. Well, in the past, West Virginia has not had those guys. Well, they think they do in TJ Crandall and Aiden Garnes, and I've watched tape on both of these guys, and I think they're both great pickups, especially Crandall. I think Crandall's ceiling is extremely, extremely high, and I think he has a very, very good chance to start at West Virginia, or at least be that third corner. It's going to be a lot of competition, though, because they also have guys coming in from Northwestern that they got out of the portal, a safety and a corner. Now, those guys won't arrive until fall or till summer, but for fall camp. But let's not forget, Beanie Bishop didn't arrive until fall either, and he was able to earn a starting spot and be very successful. So there's going to be a lot of competition at that corner spot. And let's not forget safety. They lost starting safety Hershey McLaurin to the transfer portal. They lost Marcus Floyd to graduation. However, they do have two senior safeties coming back. Anthony Wilson, who was a transfer in out of the portal last year, who was the second leading tackler on the team behind Lee Koba. And then you have Aubrey Burks, who is expected to be one of the top safeties in the Big 12. Can the DBs, the safeties, and the corners make big jumps in 2024? And how big a jump can they make? And if you combine that with a better pass rush, which they're trying to get, this defense, this West Virginia defense should take a major step up. Should take a major step up. I'll be interested to see if they do. I want to hear your thoughts. What are your major questions about this Mountaineer defense as they head into spring camp for 2024? Let me know in the comment section. Also, don't forget to support your favorite West Virginia Mountaineer student athletes with ONIT NIL trading cards. Go pick those up with the link in my description box right now. I'll get a small commission. Student athletes get 60% of the profits. Last but not least, get a 40% off your first year subscription to the Holler over at WV Sports Now by using promo code Couz at checkout. Go do that now. Take advantage of the Holler behind-the-scenes content over at WV Sports Now, where Ethan, Bach, Mike Ostie, and the folks keep you supplied with great behind-the-scenes Mountaineer content. I appreciate you tuning into this video. If you want to see another video pertaining to West Virginia Mountaineer football, check out this one right here. Have a top shelf day in Q Country Roads.